Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This feels very like old school, the way that I just started that video. Very like 2020, yeah, probably like 2020 Magically Katelyn channel. So hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing a little video with you guys on basically just like what books I want to read in 2022. I actually was inspired by this from my friend Claire. She is a big reader. I aspire to be as big of a reader as she is. But she has a TikTok and an Instagram, so I will leave those both down below if you're into the book talk realm. But yeah, she asked me at the beginning of the year if there was any like must-read books for this year that I had, and I was like, oh well, I want to read like everything on my shelf because I need to read the things that I haven't read yet. And she was like, no, but like is there ones that like you have to read this year, like you won't let yourself like not leave this year without reading these books? And it really inspired me to kind of pick through my books, and I'm like, yeah, actually there are a few that I have had on my shelf for a really long time, or even ones that I just recently have got that I really want to read. But it inspired me to make this video. So I have a bunch of books here. I actually have I have 8. I have 8 books here that are like my must reads. I have to read them this year. And yeah, I'm just gonna go through them with you. So this is going in literally no particular order. I'm kind of just grabbing the books as I have them here, talking about them, showing them, and yeah. First book I am pulling is, most of these books are from Book Talk, so if you're not savvy, I'm sure literally everybody is who would be watching this video, but sorry, I have a piece of hair in my mouth. If you're not savvy with Book Talk, basically it's just like people just talk about books all the time on there, and there's a lot that like you will constantly see on Book Talk, and then there's some that you maybe might not see as often. But anyways, a lot of these ones are popular like picks from Book Talk or recommendations, so throwing that out there. So the first one that I have pulled here is The Song of Achilles. This is actually the Indigo exclusive cover, and this one is essentially like a retelling of Achilles. He's one of the Greek gods, and it's basically, I don't know too much about it, but essentially it's kind of a romance novel. I think there is a little bit of like heartbreak. I think there's like some like really sad stuff to this one. The only reason I haven't read this so far is because a lot of people that read it have said that they like bawled their eyes out after, so I was kind of nervous. But I just recently read It Ends With Us, which people also said that they bawled their eyes out, and I didn't cry, so I feel like I'll be okay. So this is one that is on my list. I'm also the worst at giving summaries, so I apologize. Some of these books I literally don't even know anything about them, so maybe I'll read the synopsis out loud. I don't know, but this one is actually one that I hadn't heard of when I picked it up, and then literally as soon as I picked it up, it was like in Book of the Month, which is like a book subscription in the States, and then it was like on TikTok and whatever, so I don't know. Anyways, it's called The Last Thing, what is it? The Last Thing He Told Me. This is by Laura Dave, and this one is basically like a thriller. So it's about like this husband that disappears, and basically he has a wife, he like gives his wife a note that says protect her, and despite her confusion and fear, Hannah Hall knows exactly to whom the note refers: Owen's 16-year-old daughter, Bailey. Basically it's just like this woman and girl look for the truth of why their husband died, or her husband died, her whatever. But it's kind of like a thriller, a suspense. A lot of the things on the back say like thriller. A thrilling roller coaster of a novel, the smart immediate exploration of love and family is the foundation of a beautifully constructed mystery filled with twists and turns, a must read. So I really want to read this one because I want to get more into like reading thrillers. I love like horror films or thrillers in movies, so I'm sure I will love like thrillers in books too. So this is one of my ones on my list. This is another one. This is a really popular book, Where the Crawdads Sing. I wanted to read this one for a really long time, and I just haven't gotten to it, so this is the year that I read it. I think the first time I read it, yeah, I literally have the bookmark of when I last finished, or last stopped reading. I literally got to page 13, and yeah. So this one is I don't even know what this one's about. It just says, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town in North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be touched and loved. When two young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. So again, kind of like another suspense thriller. A lot of people say this is really sad. So I want to read this because I've had it on my shelf for a while. My mom read it a long time ago. Not a long time, a few years ago she read it, and she said she didn't really love it, but she's also not very big of a reader. But I just tell myself, if my mom can finish a book, then I definitely will be able to finish a book. So I have that one on my list. Next one on my list is a little like romantic. Basically, they're all like romantic comedies, but this is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. If you don't know, Emily Henry also wrote Beach Read, which is my all-time favorite book probably ever. It's one of the most recent ones that I've read, but I adored it so much when I read it. It is just like, I recommend it to anybody who wants to get into reading, but like maybe hasn't read for a really long time, or maybe just can't find things that like intrigue them. If you like romance and like funny stuff and just like kind of like quirky girl characters, like you will enjoy the book. I love it so much. I just had a friend read it and she was like texting me updates. She was like, I literally couldn't put this down. I was like, I know, it's amazing. So anyways, People We Meet on Vacation is Emily Henry's second novel, I believe. I could be wrong. But I actually bought this before I read Beach Read. And my friend Claire actually was the one that gifted me Beach Read. But I still haven't read People We Meet on Vacation, and I really want to. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But basically it's like a friends to enemies to lovers, or a friends to strangers to lovers, or something along that trope. But it's like two best friends and they're so different, and then they like lose their friendship, but then they go on a vacation together or something along those lines, and I guess they fall in love. So I mean, not to spoil, but most of these like books end up in that way. So People We Meet on Vacation is one that's on my list. This one is probably going to be more of like a spring summer read though, because I'm much more of like what does Claire call it? Like a emotional reader? I don't know. I just have to be in the right mood. A mood reader? I don't know. But I have to be in the right mood to read certain books. So this one is definitely just like a spring summer book for me. So I might wait a little bit to read this, but I'm excited for that one. This one is probably the one that I am most intimidated to read this year, but I am determined to read it because for the longest time I wanted to watch this movie. I know it was a book first, I know, but it's very hard for me to read classics. I've tried and I can't get into them. I can't comprehend what's being said in the way that they word things. So it just takes me a long time. So anyways, one day my mom and I ended up watching Little Women for the very first time, and I absolutely fell in love with that movie. I can easily say it is one of my favorite movies ever. It's just like such a warm-hearted comfort movie. I was smiling the whole time I was watching it. It just like made me feel so good on the inside, and it's definitely just like my comfort movie now. So after I watched it, I was like, okay, well, I have to read the book now. Like I cannot not read the book after watching the movie and falling in love with it. So I picked this up recently, actually, in this year, in January, but it is Little Woman. Obviously, I just said that, but this one is the 150th anniversary illustrated edition. So obviously the cover is just absolutely stunning. But I believe that because it's illustrated, yeah, just like at the chapters, there's just like really pretty pictures, like obviously like illustrations. But I believe, yeah, it's mostly just the illustrations, but I don't know. I think it's a stunning book and I'm really excited to read it. It's going to take me a while, I know, because it is a big book, and I mean, it's like fairly small writing, but it's going to take me a while. But this is like, I just really, really want to read it because I just want to fall in love with it just as much as I fell in love with the movie. So, and I know books are always better than the movies, so I'm sure I will love it. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. This one has been on my list for a little while. This one was actually recommended to me by Claire when she was recommending me books to like read that were like quick, easy reads to kind of like get back into like a reading groove after you've been in a reading slump for a really long time. This one is called The Inheritance Game, and this is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one is kind of like a mystery more so, not like a suspenseful thriller, but it's more like a mystery, I assume. But it says Avery Grams has planned for a better future. Sorry, it's hard to read white writing on a green background. Has plans for a better future, survive high school, win a scholarship, and get out. But her luck changes in an instant when billionaire Tobias Hawthorne dies and leaves her virtually his entire fortune. The only catch? Avery must move into his sprawling mansion full of secret passages, riddles, and codes. Unfortunately for Avery, Hawthorne House is also occupied by the family that was just disinherited. This includes the 4 Hawthorne grandsons, dangerous, magnetic boys who grew up with every expectation that one day they would inherit billions. Anyways, so basically it's just like a mystery, but it's more of like a young adult book, which are fairly simple to read. So I feel like this is going to be a good one to like, if I feel like I'm like slacking on reading, or if I'm like not meeting my reading goals really fast, this will be one that I grab for. But I do want to read this year because this one has a sequel to it as well. So obviously I like to read multiple books, but yeah. Second to last book that I have here, this one is The Invisible Life of Addie Laurie. Oh, sorry. I always say Laurie. It looks like Laurie, but it's LaRue. And it's V.E. Schwarb is the author. This one is basically about a woman who doesn't age, and she kind of goes through time and she never ages, but people also never remember her face. That's like the idea of this book. And essentially she gets to modern time, I believe, and oh, bookmarks. I have free bookmarks in this book. Amazing. But yeah, sorry. So she gets to like modern time and then somebody recognizes her. Something along those lines. So it just, I don't know, it's intriguing to me. I don't really read novels like this. I read more like realistic type novels. So I feel like this one is going to be different for me to read, but it sounds cool. One of my friends has read it and she said it was really good and she told me to read it. So I was like, okay, if people tell me to read a book, I will add it to my list. So I have that one on my list. And the last book, which is actually the current book I am reading right now, it is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And this is an old book in the realm of like book talk and booktube. Everybody knows about these books if you're into fantasy novels. But it's basically about, it's essentially a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And it's about fairies and like not like little, you know, Tinkerbell fairies. It's more like dark, scary, like intimidating fairies. So it's definitely different. I'm not used to reading fantasy novels. I read one last year called The Cruel Prince, which is kind of a similar aspect where it's about fairies and that they're very dark and blah, blah, blah. So I just have been intrigued because everybody talks about this on Book Talk. Also, this is more of this is a series. I believe there's 4 books in the series plus one extra that just recently came out. But it's definitely like an 18 plus category of a series. So far I've heard that this one isn't too bad, but as you get forward, it is more of an 18 plus book. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, this one is the current one I'm reading, and I'm about, I'm like literally, I'm not far in it at all. I'm at page 38, so I'm just getting into the meat and bones, meat and potatoes, of this book. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. And with this little, I guess it's is it a haul? I don't know. With my list of books that I want to read, basically I'm telling myself that I don't want to buy any new books until I have read every single book on my bookshelf that I have not read yet. This is about half of the ones that I haven't read, and then I think there's about 14 more books on my shelf that I haven't read yet. So it's less than half what I'm showing you. But I want to read every single book on my shelf before I buy new books. But my only exception is if I love this book, then I will buy the series, and then that's my only exception for myself of buying this book. Buying the series to this book. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's like definitely different from what I normally do. Obviously, I've just been more into like the vlogs recently and that kind of stuff, but I kind of wanted to just like make this video and like share the books that I've been wanting to read or am reading. I don't really know. But yeah, so this is my entire, let's see if I can pick this up without it falling, my entire haul of books that I want to read in 2022. But yeah, if you want to stay updated with my book journey, you can follow me on Goodreads. I will leave it down below. And you can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, everything's down below. I try and post frequently on all those different platforms, but Goodreads is definitely the one to watch when I am posting books. Sorry, Cooper is behind me. But yeah, Goodreads is the one to watch if you want to see kind of what I'm up to with book related stuff. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, let me know what are some of your must reads for 2022, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!